What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. Today I've got, this is super fun. So this is a Dreaming Nemleria Gren Maju banished deck. The thing that makes this particularly fun is this Banquet of Millions down here, which is some of the most ridiculous nonsense, but somehow in this deck it functions, I would say, probably about as well as it could ever function in any deck, because this thing is ridiculous. So, Banquet of Millions, banish any number of cards from your extra deck face down, and banish the same number of random face down cards from your opponent's extra deck face up until the end phase. What that essentially does is, going first, if you open this, you can play to knowing that you've opened it, set it, do whatever else, try to preserve the extra deck, because a lot of this deck revolves around moving stuff from the extra deck to the banish zone and then back again, or from the deck to the banish zone, as is normal with Gren Maju. But if you preserve the extra deck and pass turn, flip the Banquet of Millions, you steal their whole extra deck away from them for the turn, they get it back in the end phase, but typically, if you can steal an extra deck for a turn, and you time it out in a way where they have to make their first summon to hopefully go into an extra deck play, you pretty much shut them down and the turn right there. I would say it's kind of similar to like dropping an evenly matched going second, except this is a first turn setup type of card. Obviously not as powerful or as useful. It only works that way in this deck just because of the way the deck is, but it is super interesting. So triple Dreaming Nemleria, this is the only pendulum monster, and this kind of gets the engine rolling, the Nemleria half of the engine rolling, and you cannot normal summon or set the thing. You have to special summon it from your extra deck, only while you have no monsters in your extra deck. So that fits in really well with the Banquet of Millions as well. Its effect on summon is ridiculous. Basically, the way it would work is you'll activate the Nemleria, use its pendulum effect to grab your continuous Dream Tower of Princess Nemleria. This will go to your extra deck face up, pass the turn, you flip the Banquet of Millions, banish their whole extra deck and your whole extra deck, so now you have nothing. When the turn gets passed back to you, they get their extra deck back. You now have nothing in your extra deck. You can use its effect to special summon itself from the extra deck, and then you can banish cards from their field or graveyard equal to the number of face down cards you have banished. So if you just did the extra deck thing, you'll have 15 cards banished. You're essentially going to banish their entire board and graveyard. Boom, gone. Ridiculous. It's super gimmicky, but man, when it works, does it work. This thing is nuts. The other Nemleria cards for now, we've got the Dream Defender Oriler and Dream Defender, oh man, Coet, the Whipped Cream Dog, and the Chocolate Wolf Man. These both have effects that require you to have one of these face up in your extra deck. So basically that's kind of what the spell cards do too. The idea is to get this thing face up in your extra deck, exploit the fact that it's there to use all these powerful effects, and then hopefully summon it and banish everything. So when you have a pendulum monster face up in the extra deck, they can just special summon themselves from their hand. It's only once per turn, but you can summon one of each. They're level 10s. And then they both have an effect where you can banish a face down card in your extra deck face down in order to get the effects. So the Oriler will gain 500 attack for every monster your opponent controls, meaning he can pretty easily get up to like 335, 4,000 attack, something like that. And then the Dream Defender, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Nemleria you control, you can banish the one in order to negate it. So a little bit of protection, and then a beater. And then we are getting these cards. I did not play them in this deck just because we don't have them yet, but these cards are coming out. I'll find room for them. They're also going to be fun. Then standard stuff, triple Gren Maju, triple Gizmek Orochi, double Eater of Millions. So this is standard Gren Maju stuff. Banish everything, a little bit of removal. This guy's a pretty nice floodgate because he just banishes stuff when he attacks, so people can't really attack over it. They have to use removal to get rid of it instead of just attacking. And then the triple Necroface. This is pretty necessary to play if we're going to play the Banquet of Millions version of this, which I think is by far the most fun. On summon, it puts every banished card back into the deck, main deck or extra deck. It gains 100 attack for every card put into the main deck that way, so the extra deck cards don't count towards it. So basically it just resets everything that you would need to use the Banquet of Millions again, or just have access to these extra deck-based effects in these guys banishing face down. This thing banishes from the extra deck, banishes from the extra deck. Like, there's just a lot of things that you would need that extra deck back for, and so it just resets it, and then you get a little body on board. It's usually nothing crazy, because this is going to be hopefully a turn 1 play, so that you're really stealing all 15 cards. Otherwise, this is less good, but, you know, it can late game just be a big beater. Also, it does work in inverse for a lot of the rest of the deck, mainly the Gren Maju, but it has worked pretty well. And then your standard hand trap selection here, dimension shifter for this deck, common sense. It's also a dark for Allure. For the spells, we got double pot of Desires, triple pot of Extravagance. I only went with Extravagance because really the extra deck doesn't matter. Like, the only extra deck monster I've ever really summoned is Gustav Max. The rest of it is all just fodder for whatever you feel like. You could just play 15 prize cards if you got it like that. You could play Prosperity and then make more use of the extra deck, but that just wasn't enticing to me, so I went with this. It's also like $1, and Prosperity, I think the cheapest copy is like $40 for now, so you know, this deck is fairly budget if you were to build it exactly this way. I would say it's probably like, ooh, definitely less than $50, especially the extra deck can be just any 15 cards that you got lying around. Probably even less than that, maybe even like 30 or $40, so super budget. Hey, look at that, I added it up just for you guys. Main deck, like 20 to 25 bucks if you buy it from regular people, or you could buy it from TCG Player Direct for $47, and you get the added bonus of it taking twice as long to get to you, so you could always keep that in mind. There you go. Triple Sweet Dreams Nemleria. This is like a Rhoda for the Nemleria monsters. Add a Nemleria monster from your deck to your hand. This is essentially just 3 more copies of the Dreaming Nemleria. If you have one of these face up in your extra deck, and you activate this thing to maybe search one of these guys, for the rest of this turn, when you normal or special summon one of them, your opponent can't respond to it, so it's got a little built-in protection. Also, if you had this in the Pendulum Zone and have no, like if you drew both of these or something, or they got milled, you can use this to put it in your extra deck. So you would take it out of your graveyard, put it on the bottom of your deck, and then just move this to your extra deck face up, so it can force that game state rather than you having to use its effect to get there. So it's pretty useful all around. I would say for sure 3 of. The continuous spell, Dream Tower of Princess Nemleria. You can banish 2 face-down extra deck cards, search 2 of your Dream Defenders with different names. So right now it's just these 2, but it will include these 2 in the future. You just search 2 of them, and then ideally you're just special summoning them both out of your hand because you have this in your extra deck at that point, because you can just put it on the field with this thing's Pendulum effect, and it really just sets up a nice little board there for almost nothing. And then for the rest of it, we got the triple Allure, draw power, half your monster lineup is dark, triple Dimensional Fissure, it's a Gren Maju deck. And then the coup de grace, Banquet of Millions. Just, man, lay the smack down on them. This thing is, it's hilarious. I love it. But that'll do it for today. Hopefully you guys get a chance to test this thing out. It's so much fun. I'm going to build it in real life because it's super cheap, and it's just that fun to play. It's just an interesting, very different type of play style. It's worth it. It's worth giving it a shot. So if you try it, let me know how it went, how you liked it. If you know any other interesting text that I'm missing out on, let me know that as well. Maybe there's some extra deck stuff that I could throw in here that I'm not thinking about right now. I'd love to hear it. Until next time, happy deck building. I'll see you guys in a few days. Have a good one. Bye.